thrilled to be joined today by the brain trust at Lawrenceville Correctional Center, Warden Mike Seville and Assistant Warden Amber Leake. How are we doing this morning?
Great, thank you.
So we're going to talk a lot about what's going on at Lawrenceville and system-wide as we roll more out on the Virginia model, but I want to talk to you a little bit about, I want the audience to get to know each of you just a little bit. So, Warden Seville, we'll start with you. Can you just tell us about your time with the Department of Corrections?
Sure. Started with the department in 1995, Nottoway Correctional Center as a corrections officer. Someone you may know, Chief Deputy Dave Robinson was my warden for 10 solid years while I was there. So I've been around in the department from Nottoway to the academy to headquarters to back to Nottoway, Haynesville, Green Rock, Sussex 1, Unit 17. So it's been quite a journey. So, this is my 30th year with the department. So it's been a great career so far.
Outstanding. That's a long ride. Now, A.W. Leake, you've had a little bit of a different path to get here. Tell us about your career with the department.
A little bit different. So I'm working on year 18 with the state. I actually started with the Department of Juvenile Justice as a corrections officer. And then I moved quickly into treatment. And so I moved over into adult corrections at Powhatan Correctional Center in 2012 and stayed there until it closed. And then I moved into headquarters as a part of the Victim Services Unit. And I led that unit for the last 5 years before I transitioned over to first assisting with Lawrenceville on the back end, and then moved into assistant warden just this year in 2025.
Yeah, outstanding. So let's, again, we're talking a lot about Lawrenceville Correctional Center and what we've seen over the last year there. And so I want to talk about those early days. First of all, what do you remember, Warden, about when we first started talking about you taking over at Lawrenceville and what that was going to look like?
Right. So, I was at Green Rock. I got a calendar invitation to come to your office with just you and Mr. Robinson. So I was like, wow, I either did something very wrong or something right. So, and it was obviously you offered me the chance to take over Lawrenceville as the first state warden there. So to me, it was an exciting time. Didn't know what to expect. You gave me a timeline. That was January 2024. You said, look, we got to be open, ready to go August of this year. I said, wow, that is an aggressive timeline. You said, I know it is. And we jumped right in. We got it moving. Let me tell you, those early days were stressful. We had so much work to do. As you know, we took over that place for the very first time as a state agency. And so we had our work cut out for us. We didn't have lawnmowers. We didn't have tools. We didn't even have a trash compactor. So our first days were super busy getting the physical plant together, moving property in, moving property out. It was like changing a wheel on a bus while it's moving, because we had to transition with inmates intact. And, so it was a busy, stressful time, but it's been rewarding all the same.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about those early days, weeks, and months. Let's circle back a little bit to that transition period you talked about before we actually took over. Obviously, Lawrenceville was run by a private company, and on August 1st, 2024, we assumed control of it. And so, but in that interim period, we had sort of an idea of what we wanted Lawrenceville to look like and what we're trying to do there. And A.W. Leake, I know you even volunteered your time. You were involved on that back end process as well. Can you talk about how you got involved originally?
So we wanted to start up a committee because we knew that the warden was going to need help. So we knew we had inmates on site and we were going to have to transition with them on site. So we knew it was going to be a huge undertaking, but also something that had never been done before. So I loved his passion with what they were trying to create with the model that, you had presented to us. So we were excited about the possibility. And with my history with running a reentry program previously at a correctional center and the huge team that we had from the reentry division, Miss Allen, Miss Hayes, we had a whole group of dedicated people that wanted to help kind of see this through. And I know he had a bunch of people working on, okay, now we got to hire all the staff as well to bring them on board. So it was not controlled chaos, if you will. But it was really the oversight of, all right, here's our goal and how are we going to reach it? And then delegating it out to specific people to help. What are the type of inmates? How are we going to get the inmates on board? How are we going to really send this message out to them and create this type of collaborative community alongside them? We knew we weren't going to be able to be successful without the inmate population really believing in what we're trying to do and helping us to accomplish that. So we started establishing different town hall meetings with them in the months leading up to our takeover. That was really helpful to getting feedback from them. I'm not going to pretend that I know what it's like to be incarcerated for any amount of time. So we wanted to hear from them. What do you guys feel like you need? And then how could we, as the staff and the administration supporting that, make it happen?
Yeah. So you mentioned collaborative community, and that's a good place to kind of launch into the project and how it's evolved from day one to now. Of course, Lawrenceville is our first Virginia model facility, and the idea is to have a culture based on incentives and immediate sanctions. So incentives for individuals who are incarcerated who are doing well, and to continue to do well. But if you get an infraction, you're gone the next day, and that's simple. Incentives and sanctions, simple in theory, but the bigger piece to me was always going to be, how do we create the culture where our staff and the inmate population are working together to make this a different type of place? And I think it's been sort of rewarding to watch certainly the staff understand that, hey, this is a little bit of a different model, and it's a better way to work, and also the inmate population. Ward, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So initially, that's what we did. We began immediately with the term community, and we let everyone know that our mantra throughout was, it's not my house, it's not your house, it's our house. And the reason that we said that is because all the onus for success couldn't just be on us. We wanted to put that back to the population and say, look, success depends on you and your actions. And so I feel like they took up the challenge very well. Can't say that everyone did immediately, but we did what we promised, and I think that was very important. That, we started August 1st. I sent the first person away August 2nd for not being able to be part of the community. And so, but truly, the rest of the community appreciated that, to say, okay, he's keeping his word, and we are looking at this as a collaborative model. And so really, it has created a tremendous investment just in this short time of 1 year. It's created a lot of investment within the population. They have taken up the challenge. I mean, the data will support that we have done some things that I don't know that's ever been done anywhere. We haven't had a single fight in a year.
Well, and that's, one of the most exciting things about this is, and we're on at a year now, 100% reduction in serious inmate assault, 100% reduction in fights, 94% reduction in positive drug screens, 100% reduction in drug overdoses. I mean, it's just, it's astounding. But when you think back to day one, there, I know that was the charge. Let's get it to where we are now. But
correct.
But you faced some challenges that maybe looked like you might not be able to get there.
Yeah,
on our timeline.
Yeah, it was a little scary. I mean, because truly, on January 1, 2024, I mean, early in January, I was the sole employee, and so
literally, yes.
literally the sole employee at this prison. And so the challenge was, look, we have to get everyone hired and get this place under roof. So,
because it was privately run, but we have our own standards for who we hire as
correct
officers.
And so even if we wanted to bring people over, we truly could not put them to work. So we started hiring, and at the end of the hiring process, I mean, it was just a storm of activity. But at the end of the day, come August 1, we had only 35 certified officers to kick it off. And to run the whole
Ugh.
place.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and we faced those other challenges, like we mentioned. We couldn't get the grass mowed. I remember the first time you came to visit, I was a little nervous about that. We're looking around, you're like, oh boy, Warden, what are you doing here?
It was a little bit of a mess.
It was a little bit of a mess.
It wasn't your fault, though.
No, but I was like, trust me, we will get this under wraps. So we ended up a flurry of activity. We're buying lawnmowers, we're buying tools, we are buying stuff for the inmates. There was no soap, there's no toilet paper. We
And have paper, ink.
we had to literally build from square one. And August 1st, it did feel overwhelming. I was out there at midnight to bring it home, and it was, we couldn't get the sharps count right. The warehouse was a disaster, but we finally got all that together. And Mr. Fleming was out there. I think we settled with that all things were good with the company that was leaving. We left at 2:00. We're back at 7:30 in the morning, ready to kick off our first day. So there were so many challenges that it is astounding to me how far we've come in this year.
Well, it is me as well. And so obviously we're expanding the Virginia model to Buckingham, Dillon, Greensville, and they're going to have their own challenges, but they're going to be different than the challenges that you all faced. And one of the things I said to you early on, or the conversation we had, was just take notes. Let's learn whatever lessons we're going to learn about this model so it can help whoever the next phase are, if it goes as we hope. And I want to talk about some of those lessons, but one of the things I want to hear about is the evolution, because we've already talked about staff, and maybe Amber, you can talk about this. How's the staff buy-in been? How's the experience been for staff? What are their thoughts about the Virginia model as it's been applied at Lawrence?
Well, as you know, culture change doesn't happen overnight, and it can be a bit of a slow burn. So there were some, I don't know, I guess wrinkles in the matrix when it comes to staff that we hired that were a part of the former regime that was running it, and the idea of practice versus policy. So it took some time, but I think the warden did an excellent job of really leading from the front. And I know my approach is I'm not going to ask somebody else to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So, I was out pushing property cart when the hurricane hit that first week too. So we had help. Laura Allen was with me, hollering about it falling over because the pavement wasn't even. So we, leading from the front, people started picking up on it, and so did the population. So we set up some tiger teams of the community members to help us with certain things to try to knock it out. And I think slowly but surely, people started realizing that this is serious. It's not going away. Let's either get on board with it, or we've got vacancies across the state. We're happy to get you where you feel like you need to be, or wherever your comfort level is. So the warden talks, we don't need the chest pounders at Lawrenceville, because we're trying to create a different kind of a culture. But if that's what you're comfortable with, you've got a whole department.
I have a spot for you.
Find somewhere for you.
Yeah. Well, you want to talk about that as well? The staff? Just what feedback have you gotten from the staff?
Sure. So initially, there was a healthy dose of skepticism, as to be expected, because, I'm walking and talking all day, every day. This is the culture that we're trying to build. We are a community. And they were confused. What does that mean? So what I did was develop a training for all the staff to say, look, this is the vision, this is the mission, this is what the Virginia model looks like, this is how we interact, so that we could create a template, if you will, for people to really try to understand what that looks like and evolve with the culture. And so, as Amber said, sometimes that's a slow burn for culture when you're not used to that kind of culture. But over time, and look, it's only been a year, so it's not been a long time, but a lot of this staff now really see the value in the Virginia model and why we do what we do. We talked about some of the data, all these things down 100% from where we started. that creates an environment for the inmates that's relatively stress-free. That creates for the staff also an environment that is relatively stress-free. We have not had one emergency call to respond to a fight. So when their day is better, the staff day is better. Staff really embrace the idea now that, this is not a place where you have to sit in the car and put on your game face before you come to work.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath and say, let's get through it. They're happy to come in. You walk around now, I get smiles. Hey, Ward, we're fist bumping, we're high fiving. They feel comfortable where they're at. They feel safe where they're at. And those kind of things create retention. And we are showing that it absolutely works.
Well, and we're going to talk a little bit about the inmate experience, certainly, because that's an important piece of this. But really the genesis of this whole idea came from a point of, look, when you work inside a prison, it's going to be stressful sometimes. It just is. And we're trying to hire people, and we have some great people that go in and do a job that most Virginians would not do inside these prisons. But we have to, in my mind, we had to start thinking a little bit differently about how we hire, how we retain, how we do everything related to the experience of someone that's walking in and working in one of our facilities. And so the genesis here came, well, how can we create a less stressful environment that people want to come to work, right? And that's hard to do in a prison, right? Y'all know you've been in prisons all over the state and the country. And so that's where the genesis of this thing was. And then it evolved into, well, maybe a different experience for inmates to reward them and incentivize them for good behavior. And we're still early days, but I'm thrilled with what we've seen so far, and I'm excited about what it can do for staff just feeling safe, because that is absolutely, literally the number one priority, is that our staff is safe.
Yeah.
And what it can do for more rewarding careers and long-term rotation, as you said. Early returns, good, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So let's shift over though and talk about the inmate population. Now, as I've talked about the Virginia model, in my head, the thinking grew out of my experience as a drug court judge. They call them recovery courts now, but they were drug courts way back in the day when I was a judge. And the model of incentives and immediate sanctions works wonders in the drug court model, where you're incentivizing people to get the treatment and do what they need to do, and then you're sanctioning them quickly, and it really works wonders. It's a great model. And so, as we started thinking about the Virginia model, those incentives and swift sanctions, I said, let's give it a try. So,
sure.
Actually, I'll let Amber, I'll let you talk about what are some of the incentives that the inmates getting for behaving well and being a full member of this community.
So in order to even qualify to come to this community, they need to be 4 years infraction-free of a major infraction.
And let me say, I hate to interrupt, but I just want to say, you mentioned her a minute ago, but Laura Allen, you and Laura both worked during that transition period so hard, and Laura's still working on these other ones. And I really wanted to make sure that we shout her out. She's done incredible work for the Virginia model.
Yeah.
She's been a driver. So anyway.
She's phenomenal. She's been present on the back end and on the front end. So, we worked for those 8 months before we opened to screen in by hand all of the inmates that we're going to keep at Lawrenceville and bring into Lawrenceville when we first launched. And then she was there that first week, in the hurricane, pushing around property because there was 400 boxes that needed to be sent out. And then we had a warehouse full of stuff that needed to come in. So she was definitely a part of all of that on the back end, as well as Denise Hayes.
Oh,
so that logistically, those two ladies were really critical in making it happen for us. Sure.
Can't thank them enough. We're on the camera here, but there's so many people that really have worked hard to make this thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Work.
Yeah.
So back to the incentives. Well, first of all, you were talking about how you got there originally. What's the
right? So to even qualify to come to Lawrenceville, they had to be 4 years major infraction free. Then once they get to Lawrenceville, the warden wanted to start with immediate incentives. So when you come to Lawrenceville, you get a better mattress, and we started with an enhanced menu on day one. And so the idea was, if we can focus on kind of the mind, body, and spirit, then that's going to trickle down to staff safety, staff less stress, all of those things. So we had a 6-inch mattress instead of what they had previously. We had an enhanced menu, so they were getting better food. The warden instituted a recreation policy where it's not, you don't rec by building, everyone goes to rec. But we set the standard. We're going to give you this as an incentive. However, if you take advantage of it or something happens, that is going to get taken away. And they're still all wrecking together to this day.
Right.
We ended up in, earlier this year, we expanded on our enhanced menu and we opened up a salad bar.
How'd that go over?
Oh, so good. It was, you would not believe
A salad bar in a prison. What are we doing?
Yeah, right? It sounds unheard of, and it sounded unheard of to the population, too. I can tell you, I have never seen grown men so excited to see some lettuce and salad dressing. It was amazing.
Right. And it was just a few weeks ago, we had one of our community members who's been incarcerated for 44 years. And his statement to us was, I used to be stressed all the time. And now here, my biggest stress is which salad dressing I'm going to choose for the day. So, I mean, that couldn't be a higher compliment to his leadership and your vision.
Okay. Well, it's really
We've
incredible.
expanded from there.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about everything else that y'all are doing and planning to do. But Warden, if you just talk for a moment about the inmate population was I'm almost certainly justifiably skeptical.
Yes.
Because you have some long time guys serve long sentence that have never seen anything like this. So can you talk about the evolution of the inmate population?
Sure. Yeah, it was much the same when we started out doing our town hall meetings. We went in with a vision of how we wanted to do this, and I told them very plainly the things that I would do, and many of them, they were writing it down line by line, because they told me, they're like, look, we've heard this kind of stuff before. People don't follow through with the kind of stuff you're telling us. And what you're telling us sounds very ambitious. So
it was.
It was indeed. So they took it with a healthy or a giant dose of skepticism. So really, a couple of things during that time that I thought about. You and I had a conversation early on. You kind of mentioned something offhand, but in our conversation, but it's something that stuck with me. In meeting with these guys, you said, look, if we've been doing prison all this time and it doesn't work, we need to do something different. And so, sounds simple, execution not always easy. So we came up with these things like the food, the mattress. I told the guys, look, I want to build a pavilion on the yard. I want to have all day rec with you guys. So they write it down. They really didn't believe it. And in the early days, when we would make rounds, they would be like, Warden, I'm not seeing all this stuff you said. I was like, well, it's been 2 days, so please bear with me. And, the promise of please be patient and we'll get there. But as time unfolded, things like we mentioned, the salad bar, they started to see those things come to fruition. And so really the mindset did begin to change. And that's one of the things that they talk to us about almost daily is, I made my list and you have kept your promises, because you said that also very early on to me. And promises made got to be promises kept, or it doesn't work. So we couldn't make a promise and not fulfill it. And so the evolution has been quick with the population, because as they began to see that we would do what we said we would do, they really embraced the model. They really took up the mantle of their responsibility and what they had to do to keep moving forward. And so in just this short time, the attitudes and of the inmates, the motivation, it's been I mean, it has just been almost an unreal experience of how much they really will embrace the culture when they see your intentions are good.
Yeah. Well, we're talking a little bit about incentives and the things that we're given the inmate population there. But when you talk about promises made, promises kept, there's a flip side to that. Okay, first of all, you have to earn your way to a Lawrenceville, to a model prison. Sure. And then when you're there, you have to be an active member of the community. You can't be by the way, it's the goals of the community. But the flip side on promises kept is we told them early on, if you can't behave and keep earning the right to be here, you're gone. How's that experience gone with the population as they see somebody leaving?
You know, at first I think they did not believe we would do that. We told them that in the town halls also, and I think they really were skeptical about that because no one does that same day service or next day service out of a place. And so to prove we were serious, we closed RHU and said, we're not going to have that here because if you deserve to go there, you can't stay. And so, like I mentioned earlier, we opened August 1. August 2nd, we sent the first person away. And that began to spread among the community members at Lawrenceville to where now they approach us when we make rounds saying, you know, I appreciate that you got rid of the troublemakers because some of them, you know, were reticent at first. They didn't want to tell on their fellow inmates. And, you know, it's part of the code, I guess. But as time has gone by and they've really embraced the community culture, I mean, it became a thing of self-policing to where they're like, not in our house, you're not going to do this. And so really, the people that come to cause trouble now quickly become the outcasts. And some of them came to us early on and said, I can't stay here, you know, because they came here to run their game and it didn't work. And so we're happy to send them on their way too. No harm, no foul. You raised your hand to come. You can also raise your hand to leave.
So, yeah, absolutely. And that's what I sort of like about staff and inmates all see. Look, there are real consequences to your choices. And that's really what it's about, right? I mean, you have a choice as an inmate. You can choose to jump on board with this, and there's going to be some good things that come out of that, a less stressful, safer community. But you can also make bad choices, either a bad choice to get sent away or bad choices going forward as we begin to expand the opportunity to come to one of these. If you're going to make bad choices, you're not going to get the opportunity to this, but they have a path. I'll ask you just to sort of wrap up this piece of it, because I love talking about the culture and the community that you all built there, but just talk about the relationship between staff and inmates and how you've seen that evolve and develop.
So it's been really awesome because we've given them an opportunity to take on a leadership role. So just a few weeks ago, they hosted their own leadership summit, and we didn't know about it until that morning that they asked us to come in to speak. So they have taken on an active role because they feel like a valued member of this community. And so a lot of the, you know, simple stuff that used to be left to staff, they're now handling it on their own. So they're taking ownership of the community where they live. And that's been a really cool thing to see. And staff are supporting that. So we're allowing the inmates to have some of those crucial conversations, do some pull-ups on people who need it, and kind of police themselves and let them know, hey, you're slipping. I see you're slipping. How can I support you to get you back on track? And then if it doesn't work, they know that they can go to any member of the staff for whatever support, assistance, or if we need to step in to take action, then we can do so. And so that's really created, again, that collaborative community approach, and it's been going really well. So it's causing stress to go down for staff, and it's really building the community that we want to see.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the programming? Because one of the goals of this whole idea of having a less stressful community is that education and programming can flourish in an environment.
Yes.
Like that. You want to talk about, it was a slow ramp up to get programming.
It really was. So yeah, it was a kind of slow build up, but you know, we had to get our school fully staffed, things like that. So now we are all our core programs up and running. We have a lot of our CTE programs going, HVAC, electrical, all those things are now in full swing. Just yesterday, we had an inmate at Lawrenceville earn his doctorate, and we had a celebration of that, of course. And so outside just the educational realm, like we do everywhere, we have a ton of peer-led programming. We are far and away the leader. We have over 18, almost 20 programs now led by the population. And it has been remarkable, the turnout for that. Like we have the IO More, the Peace program is huge. We just had a graduation of the Peace program that Senator Boysko came to that was amazing. And the population really, I could stand up there and tell them anything, but when they hear about how to become better in here and on the street from their peers, the peer-led aspect of this has been above and beyond the success that I originally even thought it could be. And so, programming at Lawrenceville is I would say better than anywhere else. Of course, I'm the warden there, but one of the things that the guys really get from it is this. We took on the parole eligible population. That's a lot of the older guys. They missed out on a lot of programming when they're in a lot of places with the 3 to 5 year guys that are going home ahead of them. So they got pushed back. And one of the things we hear all the time is how thrilled they are to be able to sign up. They can do multiple programs at a time, and that they are actually able to get into programming, something that many of them haven't experienced in the past, or they've been on a long wait list because of the time they had left to do. So, I feel like our programming has been so successful. We're very proud of what we have going there as far as our educational opportunities.
And we've gotten a lot of help from the community. So, for example, when we were doing the town halls and we were asking them, what do you need? Things like, well, what about like some wellness? What about, focusing on harm and accountability? What about domestic violence awareness? So I was like, okay. So we had some community members that were certified nutritionists or a professional like trainer. So I'm like, all right, create a wellness program. So the warden purchased 220 yoga mats. And to this day,
Did I approve that?
Yes.
to this day, on twice a week, we have a wellness program. We've got a DJ. They're in there doing stretches. It's a whole curriculum that they're running. We used the Action Alliance, had a toolkit that they put out, and I gave that toolkit to the population and said, make me a curriculum out of this. And it focused on harm and accountability. Did you know that there are 5 steps to an appropriate apology? I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Right. So what we're doing is, I don't want you to say sorry. I want you to do sorry. And so the curriculum kind of focuses on that. And we brought in the Real Life program that's running in Richmond, that partnered with the Virginia Department of Health and created Real Talk with Real Life, which is a domestic violence awareness program. They came in, we told them what we were doing, what we wanted to do. They came in and they trained 16 of our inmates, and now they're training another dozen or so. And those 16 inmates run the domestic violence program. Our first graduation was 96 of our community members graduated initially, and now that's thriving. So we're running 8 of those classes on any given week, and that's led by the community members. And so they've got a support person on staff that's going to help them with printing, but this is their thing, and it's going really well. So I can talk to them until I'm blue in the face, but if a community member that they lived with, that they've done time with, says it just hits differently. And what we've seen is a level of respect amongst the community members for those leaders that have stepped up into those roles. It's really been a beautiful thing to see.
That's outstanding. You mentioned the parole eligible piece, and that's one of the goals I had early on was, let's at least give this population a little more access to program than they've had traditionally. But I can't say I told you guys, go, let's expand inmate-led programs, or let's go see what community resources we can use. I never gave you all that order. It's something that you all have seen as this thing has evolved. You learn, oh, this works for this community, and that, to me, that's one of the most rewarding things about this whole project are the lessons that we've learned.
Yes.
So, I think you're still facilitating a course that you
I am.
talk about that.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I was a part of the victim services unit for the agency for 10 years. I spent 5 years as the director, and I traveled around the entire United States talking about the Victim Impact Program, talking about our Victim Offender Dialogue Program, training professionals in other states and assisting them in getting that program up and running. So I have a huge passion for the idea of how do we not involve the victim impact piece into corrections. Like, we have to do that.
Right.
Because a lot of times they're not talking about the harm that they caused to get them here. And how do we expect them to grow and be better people if we don't identify and have them acknowledge the harm and the impact that it caused to the community? Otherwise, they can just get out and keep doing it again. But if they see from real life people coming in and sharing their stories and talking about the major impact areas of the harm that you've caused in the past, more than likely you're going to think twice about that before you go out and do it again. So I'm looking at the broader community. And so when I came on board with Lawrenceville, I was already running the victim impact and just traveling there as the victim services director, but that needed to continue. And so the victim services helped out with their staffing, and then we got additional staff trained. And so now we're continuing to run that program, and I facilitate it on Thursdays. And then we've got one of our unit managers that is facilitating it on Wednesdays. And again, we've got peer mentors and community members that are helping us with that on any given week.
Fantastic. Mike, 3 decades.
3 decades.
Have you ever experienced anything like what you've experienced in the last year?
Oh, let me tell you, absolutely not. It has been phenomenal. You know, I get excited. I love talking about what we're doing at Lawrenceville. I love that you took a chance on letting this happen. I mean, and we have really seen tremendous growth. You know, we talk about the lessons learned that, you know, sometimes if you're willing to stretch, you will see some big dividends. I mean, risk and reward, right? And so I feel like, you know, from where we started to where we are now, who would have thought a short year ago, even when we started, the first time we walked through there, that by this time we would be filming a TV show inside the walls of a prison. Literally filming a TV show. Having a cook-off with a chef on TV. Who would have thought that, you know, it's hard to imagine that the commitment of the inmates would be as big as it is now. And, you know, that's one of the things that I say to them all the time, and is proven to be true. Take a chance, treat a man like a man, he'll act like a man. And they do. And it's been just the transition it's mind-boggling.
And we tell people, don't just listen to us, don't believe us, come and see it for yourself. Come and talk to the population. Come and hear about the parenting programs, the domestic violence awareness, you know, the accountability, the wellness. Come see it for yourself. So we invite anybody at any time, come and join.
I think we're some of the few administrators who look forward to visits from lawmakers to say, yes, please come see what we're doing here. And I think you'll be impressed. And to this day, no one is left saying, wow, you guys are getting it wrong. Everyone is left saying, wow, you're doing something right here.
Well, I love when delegates, senators, all legislators come to see you guys, because I always get an enthusiastic phone call or an email afterwards about what they've experienced. Especially, you know, I've had them say, I was there 2 years ago, you know, and it was just different. You could feel the difference just in the atmosphere. That's a credit to what you all have done there. Now, we talked a lot about our staff. We talked a lot about the inmate population. But what should the general public, because we're a public agency, Virginia Department of Corrections, and we serve Virginians in every community across this country. across this Commonwealth. What does the general public need to know about what we're trying to do with Lawrenceville and beyond the Virginia model?
Well, I think the general public needs to know that it is very possible to run a positive prison with sanctions and incentives that where the population feels safe, and that it is possible to put up good numbers, that there are positive things that happen in prison, that there is rehabilitation, there is renewal that has taken places behind these walls, that even the inmate population would agree that they have experienced positive things. I think sometimes the public looks at us and thinks like, you're the punishers of these men, but we are really creating hope. We are creating better futures, and that it truly is possible to send these guys home more positive, more prepared, more willing to be a productive citizen. And we absolutely are making that happen.
Yeah. Well, the public thinks of us, and they think locks and gates and keys. And I'm always saying we're way more than that. I mean, from community corrections, our probation parole officers, to our CCAPs, all the things that we do. Here's another example of there are some individuals who are going to make bad choices, and we have the locks and the gates and the keys.
Yes.
But you know what? You can make better choices, and you can be a part of something different in it. And I'm thrilled how it's going for our staff, for the inmate population. I'm excited about the future of the Virginia model. What do you see as the future of Lawrence?
Well, I would say we're building safer communities. So we've taken that, the entire staff at Lawrenceville has taken that as their own ownership and responsibility to create safer communities by offering opportunities for them to learn, to grow, to achieve their personal learning goals, to be better people when they get back out into the community, so there's less harm. So I would say we're putting those tax dollars to work well. The future at Lawrenceville, in my opinion, is kind of limitless. I mean, we're consistently looking for opportunities. The community has seen the excitedness of our population. We're receiving donations for rec equipment, for programming. People want to connect with us. We built up a new, parenting program and such. So what I see is us continuing to grow, but our focus is to maintain that solid foundation. And that's through firm, fair, and consistent administration, training for our staff, training for the population that we have there, but also opportunities. So we're excited to be able to connect with college campuses to extend our education, the programming. I mean, we're constantly looking for what's working in other states. Let's pilot it here. We're just kind of open and transparent with what's working, what's not working, what are our challenges, and how can we continue to improve.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask you in just a moment about what you would say to the employees, the staff, and also the inmate population. That's going to be the next phase of the Virginia model. But because I want to zoom out to the bigger picture here just a little bit. But the big takeaway that I hope people have from the Virginia model and what we're hoping to accomplish is that, so we're going to have Virginia model facilities. Lawrenceville was the first. We're expanding out to 3 more, and then we'll see where it goes after that. So we'll have an inmate population that has chosen to make good decisions and earn their right to one of these places. And then we're also going to have a very clear path for literally every other individual that's incarcerated in the Virginia Department of Corrections, that if they want to get to one of these, they're going to know how to do it. There's going to be a waiting list. We're going to make sure their families know it's possible. It's absolutely possible to get there. And so the idea is that at every facility, hopefully it's going to help trickle down into the culture of, look, there's something better here that we can be a part of. And then if you don't want to do it, if you want to make bad choices, then we have some places out in the West that be happy to host you. So we don't know, frankly, how big this thing can get in Virginia. I have some big dreams and big goals and big aspirations, but we do know that the next level is going to be Buckingham, Dillon, and one of the clusters at Greetsville. So and I know you all have already talked with some of the staff and took some inmates over as well, and you can talk about that. But really, what I know is what would you say? Let's start with the staff. What would you say to the staff at these institutions that are kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I'm hearing good things about Lawrenceville, but that's not the way Buckingham has been in the past. And we'll start with, I want both of you to address what you would say to the staff at those places. We'll start with you, Mike.
So I guess what I would say to them is, trust the process initially. I know it sounds different, but also I would say to them that, we are having success, and I see it as opportunity. You have the opportunity to be part of something that is going to change the face of corrections. I truly believe that. And to me, it is exciting to be a part of that. I would tell them, look, like, we can talk about what that looks like, but also it is a valuable opportunity. Take the time and give it a chance. See how you feel about it in a couple of months, and I guarantee you your stress level will be down. You'll be feeling more positive about your role, and you'll be more connected to your work, because we interact at Virginia model prisons. We walk, we talk, we are very engaged. So I would tell them that this is going to be an opportunity for you to experience something you never thought possible in corrections.
Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I would just like to say first, thank you for your service, for your dedication, for your motivation, and for your creativity, but also pace yourself. This is an opportunity to do so many great things, but I don't want staff to get overwhelmed with it. So definitely pace themselves, but start thinking outside of the box and get feedback. What we did a lot of was some focus groups. I had this idea, but are they going to be interested in it? I don't know. So getting feedback from the population that you're going to be working with, is this something that you guys would like to see? And then how can we make it happen together? And then best of luck.
Yeah. And in the experience at Buckingham and Dillon and Greensville and wherever else we expand to, it's going to be different than the Lawrenceville experience. And they're going to be, there's not a one size fits all. That's the thing that I want staff to understand, is that you got some ideas, let's hear them, because it's an opportunity to reshape the way corrections looks in Virginia.
Yes. So, and
on the in terms of the inmate population, one of the big things I want to make sure everyone understands is that I don't care where you are in our system. If you're an inmate, you have the opportunity to get to I'm going to create as many of these as I have inmates that want to be inmates.
Yes, absolutely.
The goal would be for all of them. But, the fact of the matter is, you all have a significant population at Lawrenceville that have spent time at Red Onion, that have spent time at Wallens Ridge. We just, there's at least 100, more than 100 individuals from our high security facilities have already been moved out because they've been behaving, and they're going to one of these prisons. It's available to every single inmate if they want to make good choices and earn their way there. So I'll ask you both, and I'll start with you on this one. What do you want the entire inmate population to know about what we're doing and why they should want to get there?
So I think what I want the population to know is that the Virginia model prison concept is giving you a toolbox, but it is up to you to fill that toolbox. And what we can guarantee is opportunities and access to resources that you may have not had resources to previously, because we truly want you to be successful when you get back out in the street. Our children are growing up in these communities, and we want them to be safer. So it's up to you to take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. But what I can tell you is that they're there, and we're having fun while we're doing it. So the opportunities are limitless to prepare you, and get ready, but also be patient. And start figuring out your own personal learning goals. So then when you get there, you can hit the ground running.
Yeah, so I would just add to that I think with the Virginia model, population has an opportunity to genuinely have a bigger voice in what happens then, they think, we meet with them on a regular basis. We have representatives that come to us and with ideas from the population. I have told the whole population, think outside the box. There's nothing too crazy that you can bring to me that we won't consider. And trust me, there have been some crazy ones. But, I would say to the population, this is an opportunity to have a bigger voice, to be connected in a way you never thought would be possible in a prison.
I just heard the term fun. Has it really been fun? Is that are you talking about working in a prison?
Yeah.
It's been fun?
Didn't start off
Don't take
on.
my word for it.
Yeah.
Come out and visit and talk to the staff. We have our unlock crew. So we have a crew of inmates that have created a podcast, and they're kind of like our media team, if you will, at Lawrenceville. And they wanted to start doing some pro-social events. So we're like, okay, well, what do you mean? So they created games, and they got donations from Keefe, our commissary people. So we set up, food, games, stations. Our buildings are set up where there are 3 housing units in each building. So we open up one housing unit, and then we invite everybody from the other 2 in there, and we invite all of the staff to come in. Staff are playing Scrabble at these pro-social events. They're playing spades with them. They're playing Wheel of Fortune. We've got a movie playing, and we invite everybody to come and interact and just have some fun. And so a lot of the feedback that we get, I did lose at Scrabble, but he wanted Jenga, so I never hear the end of that. So, but at these events, what we're seeing is people enjoying themselves, kind of escaping the idea of, having to go to a cell and stand for count. And we're engaging and creating more of those pro-social type behaviors. And that just frankly isn't done anywhere else. And we've continued to do it. We've had no issues with it, no negative behavior with it, and it's open to everyone. We've done field day. That was huge. We invited all of our bands to come and play and interact. We were doing different activities. We played pickleball, volleyball tournaments, different things like that. So we're getting out and we're embracing, having some fun behind the walls, because it can't always be, one way. So we've got to kind of let loose, in a safe way. But we're having some fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's our mission is that we have to incarcerate individuals. That just tells us we have to incarcerate them. But how we do that is, we're changing the way that looks a little bit at Lawrenceville.
Absolutely.
Warden, I want to give you the final word here. I'd like you to just think about when you were the only employee.
Yeah.
And all the challenges that you faced. Just can you sum up what your experience has been like? And then also, I want to hear what your vision is for the next 12 months.
Okay. Well, that's a lot. It seemed overwhelming at first, being the sole person and having to hire the whole lot of Lawrenceville. But, to me, it was a little daunting, but it was exciting, because I knew that this opportunity would never come again for anyone, to take over. That was the only private prison we had. And so to take over, to be the first state warden at a place is daunting. It is exciting. There's a little pressure to get it right. But during that time, I would say, as we brought people on, as we started to bring on our numbers, we really did start with the vision of, we got to get the right people in this place for the jobs that we have to really secure the future where we want to go, to get off on the right foot. And like I said, we started with just 35 certified corrections officers. And for many of them, we only had a short window, 1 year, to get everyone through all the DCJS training and get them on a post. Well, I mean, we met that goal. Our numbers are growing. So, it has gone from, pretty stressful to, okay, we're seeing the progress. to now it is a pleasure to go to work. It is, because we are meeting the goals that we set. And so as we move forward, I feel like the sky's the limit. Where are we going to be at Lawrenceville a year from now? Really, it's hard to say. It's going to be fun to get there, because right now we have pavilions going up on the rec yards that we are going to have a 15 by 15 building at the back of the rec yard. We're going to sell ice cream. We're going to sell snacks on the rec yard. That's unheard of everywhere. We already met with the commissary folks. They're on board. We got it going on. We have reintroduced loaves of bread to the population, which sounds like a small thing, but let me tell you, it is significant for those guys. We are in the process of securing 180-gallon fish tanks for every pod. So again, kind of unheard of, but it creates jobs. It's calming. The guys love the idea. We're expanding our programming to include fetch and some other dog training programs, because that goes a long way. These guys haven't seen dogs in ages. We are going to expand our educational opportunities over the next year to include partnering with colleges to get it associate's degrees, and hopefully then 4-year degrees at some point. So really, your imagination is the limit. And so I'm hoping in the next year at Lawrenceville that I know we will change the face of corrections in Virginia. I am positive we have opportunities in Virginia to change the face of corrections nationally, because we have data to support that what we are doing works. It's exciting. I can't wait to go to work every day and really be the visionary. The Jobs and the Wozniak, that's us.
I love it.
So, we really appreciate the opportunity we've been given, and we are excited to show the world what Lawrenceville has done and where we can go and where Virginia can go. It's a great time to be an employee at the Virginia Department of Corrections. I can tell you that.
Well, Lawrenceville is the tip of the spear. You all are really setting the model for the Virginia model. I wake up every day, I think, what can I do today to help keep our staff safe, and to have a place where we're not really worrying about that is
yes.
It's revolutionary. I do think we have an opportunity to do something and expand this in a way that no other state has ever even considered. And appreciate your all's work in the early days to get that going and get it right. It's exciting. It is exciting. I'm like you. I love talking about it. Every event I go to, I try to work it in, because it's a really exciting thing. When people learn what we're doing, they think maybe we're doing things a little different as the Virginia Department of Corrections. We're always trying to be the #1 corrections agency in the world, but here's yet another area we maybe claim that. Mike, Seville, Amber, Leake, thank you all for the work you've done. I mean, really, your staff have been amazing. But the fact that the leadership that you've demonstrated down there is the reason why Lawrenceville's been successful. And so I want to tell you how much I appreciate that. Any final thoughts either of you have before I think this sprayed on too long. I'm getting dirty looks from behind the camera. But
there's so much to talk about. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, for believing in us to carry the vision forward. Thanks. It's been great.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. And if anybody's looking for a job, we're always hiring.
Come see us.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, come see us.
Let's edit that and put it at the beginning. So thanks for joining us again today. Really appreciate the warden and assistant warden that joined us talking about genuinely exciting things that are happening at the Department of Corrections, coming to more facilities very soon. And then, who knows, sky's the limit. Thank you.